Hello guys, welcome back to another video. And today is a bit of a short one, because I have to go to bed early and wake up early tomorrow for the World Championship Top 4 Day 1. So, in case you don't know a lot about it or you hadn't heard about this at all, I just wanted to do quickly sort of go over um, the format and when it is, the decks. The decks have been submitted. The links to the deck lists are in my description. In the description of the video, they're in my Discord. They're in several other Discords as well. Um, so first, I'm just going to use this helpful graphic. I did not make this. I'm not this talented. Um, so first up in the semifinals, there is Head versus Birdo, myself versus Bamboo, and these are the first two games that are going to start on stream. And the stream starts 8 a.m. EST tomorrow on Saturday, or down here 1300 GMT, December 3rd, Saturday. So we're going to start with Head versus Birdo, then myself versus Bamboo, and then the losers of both of those matches will play each other. So let's just say Head beats Birdo, Bamboo beats me. In that case, Birdo and myself will play in this this number 3 right here, loser 1, loser 2. And that will play at the end of the stream, and whoever loses there is out in 4th place. And you can see the prizes up here. 4th gets $1,000, which is still really good. Still twice as much for winning an OCC. So somebody will be eliminated tomorrow. One of these 4 players will be eliminated. Now, on Sunday, because this is a 2-day event, 1300 GMT on Sunday as well, it will start with the winner of Head versus Birdo, myself versus Bamboo, playing against each other. So in the previous scenario, Head beats Birdo, Bamboo beats myself. It would be Head versus Bamboo in the winners finals, which means whoever wins there is on into the grand finals. They're guaranteed top 2. They can wait for a bit. And whoever loses will now drop down into the losers finals, where they play against the winner of the previous set, the person who won between myself and Birdo, the person who won the elimination. So I hope you're following through. They play each other. Whoever loses is out in 3rd, so they'll get 1500, and whoever wins will go back and play the person on winner's side sitting in the grand finals. They play one final match. There's no bracket resets. It's just one final match, best of 5, winner takes all. And obviously whoever wins gets 5,000. Whoever loses is in 2nd with 2,500. Now, all of these sets are best of 5. We all brought 4 decks, 1 ban, pretty standard format for cards. And yeah, it's the same format as last year, and it's going to be pretty interesting. While I'm at it, I'm going to quickly take a look at my decks. Well, quickly explain my decks. I'm not going to go too much into them because obviously the tournament hasn't happened yet. So I'm not going to explain my ban strategy or anything like that. But these are the 4 decks here. I deleted a ton of decks. For the first time ever, I was down to 1 page. Well, for the first time in a very long time. So first up, you have 2021. This is my US-German frontline deck, US-German midrange. The reason I called it 2021 is actually this is the exact same deck. The cards have changed slightly. Obviously, I added 5th Rangers. I added a couple other changes. But this is the same deck from the US-German midrange that I brought to the 2021 World Championship a year ago. I just never deleted the deck. And then about a month ago, I was playing, and I was tired of scrolling to page 3 to play my US German, so I was like, screw it, I'll just play this old version of US German. And I just put in 5th Rangers for 1st Marines, and started playing with it. Had 2 Blitzkriegs, 2 Geburgs Pioneers, and I was like, this actually feels pretty good. So I changed it around a bit, and ended up picking it over my normal island hopping research version, not because I think it's better or worse. Just sort of the decks that I was expecting to play against. I thought I would prefer research over island hopping. I thought I would prefer Blitzkriegs over island hopping and research. Sorry, I'm very tired. I'd say that Most interesting thing about this deck is I have two Greyhounds. They have some nice synergy with combat engineers. They're an extra one drop. They can blitz to the front line the turn they're played. For drawing with Shermans, they can attack into the support line, or like to hit like an RD, a bomber, or it can go face with Blitzkrieg. So yeah, Greyhound seemed like a pretty natural choice for a couple extra deck slots, or card slots I had left in this deck. Then we have I Invented Feigned. So this is obviously Feigned Retreat Jagro. The only change from my top 32 list is I took out Mitos, Fish, and Hodos. Again, this is based on what decks I expected to see. It's not that I think one is strictly better than the other. Yeah, and the name I Invented Feigned is I am the person who created Feigned as a competitive deck, and it has changed a fair amount since I first created it, but has not changed a lot. I'd say like the two biggest changes that have happened to the deck, three is people put in type 94s. That was not originally in the deck. That happened after like about a year. Then people put in Warble Winds. I actually started putting in Warble Winds just because air became way more popular. And then finally, the cutting of Enigma and going down to just three orders. Um, that sort of become more mainstream. But anyways, I invented Feigned, and I mean I don't like necessarily care, but it is just something I've never heard any caster ever mention ever. So I named my deck I Invented Feigned as a joke. Um, then you have the Soviet Japan self damage. This is quite different than versions I've previously played in tournaments. So I am back to the Great Patriotic War. I had taken this out for a while. I've put in KV and taken out Naval Brigade. Just again, sort of the decks I'm expecting to face. I was not expecting a ton of control in this top four. And then I've actually been having a ton of fun and a ton of success with double Ura, and I've taken out counteroffensives altogether. Again, not that I think counteroffensive is bad. It's just specifically the matches I'm expecting to get into, and it works really well with Petliakov, and I love Petliakov in self damage. Of course, the Birdo tech of Red Banner. Um, Actually, here, let me, if, yeah, here we go. Let me move my screen or my webcam up here so you can actually see the cards. Not a whole lot different about this. Deck name, No Pain, No Fame. Obviously, it's a pun over the expression No Pain, No Gain, which is itself a joke about how self-damage you're hurting yourself as proactive moves. And of course, last but not least, delete CAS, delete close air support. This is my Britain Japan air deck. Yeah, like I said in my previous video explaining the decks I brought to top 32, it's not that I thought air was dead, it's just that I didn't want to bring an air deck that I made in like 3 days. I didn't want to only have 3 days to test and make a brand new air deck that adapts to the new meta and the nerfs and whatnot. So, obviously, I didn't bring it to top 32, but here I am now, like a month and a bit later, and we've had a lot of time to practice. I actually just recently won the November season. I ended rank 1, and this was the deck that I used on the final day to climb. The one difference between my ladder deck was that I ran high-ends instead of zeros. Again, this is because high-end is particularly good into control. Zero is better into these more tempo board-based decks. And yeah, if you look at the curve, just a ludicrous number of one-cost cards. You have 3 air superiorities, 4 close air supports, 3 type 94s, 3 swordfish, 3 gladiator, 2 Sonya. Yeah, the deck is just... I mean, it's significantly worse than Britain Italy just because of how ludicrously strong Fiat was. And there's certainly an argument for Britain US maybe being a better versatile deck, like sort of a better all-rounder deck. But I've had a ton of success with Britain Japan that I didn't have with Britain US, which is why I ended up going for it. If you want to get the exact deck list, again, this will be in the description along with everyone else's decks. So those are my 4 decks, 4 pretty aggressive decks. I thought a long time about bringing Soviet France. I was feeling quite good about Soviet France. I thought about Japan France Resistance instead of Jagro just to throw people off, but it just feels like it's not quite there. Like it just like with the addition of fifth rangers into mid range, with just like the speed at which a lot of decks can get out, and your lack of healing, which lowers your win rate against Feigned, it's not quite there. I didn't feel comfortable bringing it. I decided I didn't want to like take a risk like I would in an OCC. In OCC, I'll bring a lot of like homebrew, sort of never tested before control decks, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work. This is World Championship. I'm just gonna trust in the fact that I believe that I can play uh, all of these aggro decks at least marginally better than any of my opponents in the tournament. So I would rather have the closest chance of playing similar decks and having room to outplay my opponent than potentially just being completely hard targeted and have the game over by like have the entire set over by game one because I lost with the deck that needed to beat this deck or whatever, or the deck that I needed to target gets through in game one and the entire set's over immediately. I want the ability to be down 2-0 and have reasonably think, well, I can just like get decent hands on these three aggressive tempo-based decks and outplay my opponent in critical positions and just win rather stress-free instead of being like, well, this deck literally cannot beat this other deck. That's not a fun place to be, especially for top four, which is why I brought these decks. And I think that's somewhat similar to what other people thought. I mean, I was certainly the most control player of the four in the top four. Not that I think any of the other players are incapable of playing control, it's just not typically what they do. So the lineups we have, I'm not going to go over everybody's decks, but just quickly. Birdo brought the exact same decks as me. We tested together, we practiced together. We do have several different card changes. So my US deck is faster, his is more value oriented. He runs counter offensives, I run Ura and self damage. He runs an extra convoy, I run an extra zero in our air decks. I think our Feint decks are exactly the same though. And then Bamboo has US German midrange, Jagro, Soviet Japan self damage. So those three decks are the exact same as me and Birdo. And then his fourth deck is Britain, France, Mobilize. And then Head has Britain, Japan, Air. So there's three Britain, Japan airs. He has Soviet Japan self damage. Let me actually just double check that. Yeah, he has Soviet Japan self damage. So there's four Soviet Japan self damages. He did not bring Japan though as a major nation, and he did not bring U.S. Germany. He brought U.S. Poland to mid range. So there's four self damage, three U.S. German mid range, and a U.S. Poland mid range. There's three Britain Japan airs and a mobilize. And his last deck is the only German deck of the tournament. It is German Italy control, the one we all know and love. Interestingly, without Schwalb, he presumably didn't expect to see a ton of air. Unfortunately for him, both Bodo and I did bring air, but even so, maybe he's planning on banning air, which is why he doesn't want Schwalb. Maybe he's just thinking it's not worth tagging Schwalb. That's a good into one matchup where the other three decks run almost no air units. I don't know. But yeah, those are your 16 decks for the top four. Again, the tournament is tomorrow, and if you don't see this, you missed the tournament on Saturday, that's okay. You can tune in on Sunday to catch the final three sets and the final three players. And if you miss both of them, the VODs will be up on the official KARDS YouTube channel, where you can watch them back. And yeah, I will likely do a video at the end of the weekend, maybe Monday or Tuesday, going over how it went. If I won, if I completely bombed out and go 0-6, whatever the case, I'm going to make a video about it. And yeah, I honestly, I'm not feeling nearly as nervous as I was last year. I've won it before, and we're all decent players with very similar decks, and it's not a lot of games. So I don't think even if I get fourth, as long as I don't brutally misplay, which I'm not expecting myself to, as long as I'm like content with my play, I don't necessarily care. Obviously, it would suck to miss out on a ton of money over getting unlucky, but that's the way it is, and there's nothing I can do to change that or control that, so I'm feeling pretty good for the tournament. I hope you guys are excited to watch it, and that is it for me today. Again, Dex in the video, or Dex in the description, and I'm going to go to sleep because I'm incredibly tired. Thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.